Very well. Welcome to this seventh webinar jointly organized by the Norwegian OpenAI Lab and NORA together, this time with the NORA.Startup. We have a great panel today covering different universities and startups, so I'm looking forward very much to some interesting discussions. Students can be amazing resources for companies. They bring new ideas, the fresh view on how to carry out the operations in a company. And I think with respect to AI in particular, students bring with them, highly valued competencies in fields that are rapidly moving forward. My name is Trym Holter. I'm the director of the Norwegian OpenAI Lab, and I consider myself very lucky to work at NTNU, where I'm surrounded by many very talented students. NTNU has a vibrant student community of engaged students, and I know this is a situation also in other universities around Norway. We're lucky to have strong collaborations with students, both through projects, master theses, through students' organizations. And I know this is also the same situation in other parts of Norway. So if you are interested in getting to know AI students, I definitely recommend reaching out to some of the people on this call today, the student organizations in particular. I'd also like to take the opportunity to recommend all startups as well as other companies that are interested in developing AI projects with students or would like to recruit talented students. Please engage with the students early on. Define a project that can be carried out in collaboration with the student. And I think we will probably see some examples of that today. So with this, I hope the webinar will inspire many of you, and I look forward to the discussions. So please, over to you, Morten Goodwin.
Thank you, Trym. So as Trym said, this is a joint webinar by the two AI mastodons in Norway, the NAIL and NORA. And today we are focusing on startups and students. NORA is a national organization of collaboration between many partners, and NORA.Startup is NORA's national innovation network that focuses on research-based innovation and works to facilitate a closer dialogue and collaboration between academia, including students and startup environments in Norway within AI, machine learning, and robotics. Students are an essential talent for innovation and startups provide a critical domain for students. By working with startups, students can gain unique experiences, which are also very attractive to spice up their CV. This webinar is an exciting one because we will explore different examples and cases of student startup collaborations and hear the perspectives from students who worked with startups and startups who have worked with students. So if you're curious about student startup collaboration, this is the webinar for you. So in this week's NORA.Startup and NAIL webinar, we will meet Jørgen Farner from AI-Makerspace, Kristoffer Gjerde, leader of BRAIN NTNU, Luca, Oggiano, CEO and co-founder of Nabla Flow, Lene, Diesen, CEO of Semine, and Gustavo, Mello, leader of OsloMet AI Lab. My name is Morten Goodwin, and I will be the facilitator here, but this webinar, as all webinars, are mostly for you, the audience. So if you have any questions, either for the panelists specifically or for anyone in general in the panel or the panel in general, please ask questions in the chat or in the question answering system, and I will facilitate this. So the way we do it is we will first hear a short presentation from each of our speakers, about 5-6 minutes. This will end up in half an hour of presentations, and then we will go quickly into a discussion round at the end. And the first out is none other than Jørgen Farner, AI-Makerspace master student at OsloMet and currently a part of the ACIT program with a specialization in artificial intelligence. And it's very exciting to hear what Jørgen has to say to us. So Jørgen, are you ready?
Yeah, thank you for the introduction. Can you guys see the screen?
Perfectly. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I just wanted to start off by introducing the student organization that I'm part of, which is for now called the AI-Makerspace. And we're essentially a student-driven organization at OsloMet, which was created in November 2020. And we are supported by the AI lab at OsloMet. Our purpose is to create interest in AI among the students at OsloMet, but also at other institutions, and to create a community where students can learn and discuss and be creative. We aim to accomplish this by organizing different tutorials, workshops, hackathons, and seminars, which we create ourselves, and also we do it in collaboration with industry partners and academia. Right now, our team consists of 4 people. We are 3 students from the ACIT program with a specialization in AI, and we have 1 bachelor student that is part of the electronics and IT education, and Dennis Larsen is our latest addition. Next semester we aim to recruit a few more students so that we can expand a little bit. So this semester was our first full semester. We organized a few different events. This consisted of courses in natural language processing, Python, and Arduino. We also had a workshop in TensorFlow, and then we also tried to invite the companies. So we had Bouvet, who had a very interesting coding competition, and Ruter, who presented some of their machine learning projects that they are working on. You can just stop me if somebody's asking a question. I think there's something in the chat. Oh, is it still just the first slide?
Yes.
Ah, sorry about that.
Okay.
Okay.
So now we see about AI Makerspace. So please continue.
That's strange. Okay. So this was the second slide. These are the members. Yeah, so like I said, we also try to invite the companies. And then lastly, we introduced a new segment that we're calling Expert Talks, where we invite professors and PhD students to talk about the subjects that they find interesting, to kind of create a bridge between the students and the professors at the university. So the talk we had this semester was based on cyber weapons, which was very interesting. And for the fall semester, we're going to try to ramp up our activity a bit. And we've planned, amongst other things, finance workshop where the students will learn different machine learning models, and it will end in a competition where the students create their own models and compete with creating the best one. We also revisit the Arduino and TensorFlow and Python courses, which were popular, and these kind of fill some gaps that we've been in contact with some of the professors at the university who they don't have necessarily time to teach everything in the few courses that the students have. So we are able to kind of fill the gaps that are missing. And we also invited the Schibsted, Suprasteria, and GraphCore to with their events. So they're going to have a workshop on AI ethics and AI competition, and also GraphCore will present some of their very cool technology. And then we will have a panel discussion on AI in the health sector, which will be very interesting. Then I just wanted to discuss a little bit what we as a student organization can contribute with for startups. So we're in this kind of special position between the students and the companies. so we can be a facilitator of communication between the two. And we can also actively engage the students in creative projects to kind of foster the entrepreneurial atmosphere among the students. We can also contribute with recruitment for the startups. These startups are always looking for good students, and students are always looking for work, whether it's a part-time or summer internships or even full-time employment. And then we can also help with increasing the visibility of the companies among the students. We can have open days or in general just collaboration with them. Lastly, students are always eager to play with and explore new technology, so we can always help out with that and facilitate discussions and brainstorming ideas and improving existing concepts. So for any startups who are interested in this, just contact us, and you can find us on Facebook, just facebook.com/AI-Makerspace, and we would be glad to collaborate. Thank you. I hope I didn't go too much over the time.
So great, Jørgen. So one question that immediately strikes me is you particularly looked at engaging students. So that's something I struggle with every day as a teacher, right? So what is your trick to engage students into this?
Yeah, that is definitely hard because we want to, have inviting companies. It can become very formal, and a lot of students are a bit nervous speaking up in large groups. So we kind of want to balance doing that, the big events that with the new technology, but also have an environment where the students feel safe to communicate and create the community. But it's definitely a bit hard, like that expert talk we had. I think us AI Makerspace mentors were mostly the ones driving the discussion, but I think it will improve with time.
I'm sure you're right. And we look forward to having you in the panel debate in some minutes. And then we go over to our next speaker, which is Kristoffer Gjerde, who is the leader of BRAIN NTNU and a computer science major specializing in artificial intelligence, also at NTNU in Trondheim. So Kristoffer, the floor is yours.
Thank you for that introduction. I'll talk both about my master thesis together with Nabla Flow, as well as about BRAIN NTNU. So let me just share my screen. Let's see. Yeah, you can see the screen now, right?
Yes, yeah. Perfectly.
Let's go there. All right, so my master thesis was about GANs for the assessment of wind flow for pedestrian comfort in urban areas. I did not write this master thesis alone. I did it with a good friend of mine, Henrik Høines. And as you can see, this was also a collaboration project between SINTEF, Nabla Flow, and the Norwegian OpenAI Lab with Milano as our supervisor, and Luca, Knut, and Fredrik as our co-supervisors. So yeah, since Luca is here, he can introduce Nabla Flow himself, but I need to say something just to understand our master thesis. It is important to know that Nabla Flow, they are delivering wind simulations by using something called computational fluid dynamics, which is basically solving some equations iteratively. And the problem with this method is that it is very costly to perform for big geometries, as well as taking a lot of time to compute. So what we try to do for Nabla Flow in this project is find a way to use machine learning to train a model to perform predictions on how these wind simulations should look like. So let me just define the problem quickly. We take a 3D geometry of a building, and then we simplify it into a 2D image. And from this, we want to learn the mapping function between the geometry and the simulated wind flows. And to do this, we use a specific type of neural network called generative adversarial networks, which treats this as an image-to-image translation task between the two domains. And yeah, for our experiments, we had 5 data sets, which Nabla Flow provided us with, of various complexity, going from just walls to buildings with different heights, and at the end, real buildings collected from a map of Oslo. And as I mentioned, we trained GANs to learn this conditional mapping. And specifically, we experimented with pigs-to-pigs and CycleGAN and extended these models with additional methods like spectral normalization, different kinds of positional information, and attention. And here you can see some of the results on one of the simpler data sets, consisting of 2 buildings put next to each other. And we would say these look pretty promising, but then we move over to a more complex data set from Oslo. We see that the task gets harder, but still performs fairly well. And to easily analyze the wind velocities, we now classify them into different classes in order to create what is called comfort maps. And to produce these maps, you combine the wind predictions from 8 different directions, some statistical weather data based on the area, and a set of defined comfort criteria. And we then integrated this into an interactive tool where we can easily drag over a map, select an area, and then get the wind predictions for that area. And in order to create an interactive tool like this, we need the model to make predictions in just a couple of seconds, which our neural network do. It is not as accurate as with CFD, but we argue that it can be accurate enough for an application like this. Yeah, just some references. So what was it like working with a startup as a student? I think I will leave this for the discussion afterwards, as I still have some slides to go over, but please ask me, and then Luca can join the discussion as well. Yeah, but where can students get in touch with exciting AI startups? So this question brings me to BRAIN NTNU. So BRAIN NTNU, first of all, BRAIN NTNU is a student organization, meaning that everything we do is organized by students. And initially, this was an initiative from the Norwegian Open AI Lab. And they wanted an organization that could better communicate with the students and host different kinds of events to inform students about the development in the field of AI in Norway. The AI Lab contacted some students to get this project going. And since then, we had a close collaboration with both the AI Lab and with NTNU. We had our kickoff event back in August of 2018. And after that, we have arranged all kinds of events. And in total, we have hosted 22 events for students, where the number of participants have ranged from 30 to more than 100 students at some of the biggest events. So what do BRAIN do? What is our vision? BRAIN NTNU is connecting students, the research community, and companies working in AI. And for everything we do, we always keep this in mind. So how do we do it? Well, these are the people behind it. And we divide our team into different project groups. And currently, these are the ones that we have had so far. And each project group is responsible for their own event. Here you can see some images from some of these, as I think these pictures better describes what we are actually creating here. And yeah, since this webinar is on student startup collaboration, I would just like to focus on Startup AI specifically. Startup AI is an event where we invite startups only. And I just want to highlight the date for the next time we arrange this in Trondheim, the 29th of September. And here we give the startups an opportunity to come and talk directly with students about what they are doing. And for small businesses and startups, it can be really costly to attend students' event at NTNU. So this often leads to startups not having an arena to meet and recruit students. So what we try to do with Startup AI is to provide an arena where students and startups can meet. At this event, the startups get a couple of minutes to pitch what they are working on, as well as set up a stand to mingle with the students afterwards. And last time we had this event, we booked a conference area at Radisson Blu where over 100 people attended. So we definitely see that students are very interested in what the startups in AI are currently working on. So I'm rounding off now. Lastly, just showing some of the startups that we have had on this event before. Maybe you recognize some of them. And lastly, if this looked interesting, check us out on social media and you will get updates you need to attend. And if your company or startups are interested in talking at some of these events, please email us at contact@BRAIN NTNU. And that was everything. Thank you for listening, everyone.
Very good, Kristoffer. And for those that are interested, there seems to be a lot of contact points for you. And I'm sure that we will have interesting answers to some of the questions you pushed out in the panel debate later.
Yeah.
I think we go over to the next speaker, which is Luca. Luca has already been mentioned a couple of times. He has a background in aerospace engineering, holds a PhD in sports aerodynamics, and comes from the professional world of sports. He helped a team called Sky before. Here in Grimstad, we have a cyclist we like a lot. He's called Trym. He's from a competitive team. So my first question to Luca is, why did you help the other team? But if you don't want to answer that, you can just go ahead with the debate.
Well, I don't have an answer to that question. They came to us. Actually, the story of why and how they came to us is a little funny, but we don't have enough time to go through that. But let's say we had a very successful ride with them, and it is one of those collaborations that are still long-lasting, and they will be even more long-lasting in the future, since we are going into setting a deal of collaboration between us and them. But yeah, I don't have an answer for your question. They came to us and we accepted them. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about us and what we do. In what we want to do it to disrupt the way we simulate wind. And simulating wind is one of the most complex things you can do. The equations that are governing fluid dynamics are probably some of the most complex equations out there. And they are so complex to solve that we still don't have a solution for it. Actually, if you want to win one of the Nobel Prizes, you can try to solve analytically the equations that are governing fluid dynamics. So the way we do it is to solve them using a lot of computational power. I go now through our history because I think it's actually very well linked to the topic of this seminar, and it kind of shows on how something coming out from the universities, including students, can get to a commercial level, and can also by involving students along the way. So the company was founded in 2018, but let's say we were started to be active from 2020. But it was started by me, Knut Kirarus, who's professor at UES, and Siri Kalvig, who is now the CEO of Nysnø. Siri had to leave us, of course, after she became the CEO of Nysnø, but she's still a good friend of us. In 2019, when we decided to go commercial, we started to involve a TTO at the University of Stavanger, which is called Valide. And if any of you guys have a startup out there and coming out from the university, I suggest you to have a call at least with the TTO of your university and try to ask for help along the way. In 2020, we already had a proof of concept, and we started to apply for soft funding, both from Innovation Norway and NFR. And we had a successful ride there because we created a good partnership. So we had very strong partners. We had very interesting letters of intent. We had, for instance, the Norwegian Olympiatoppen. We had the cycling team. We had a large number of architects joining the applications. So we managed to get about 2 million in funding from Innovation Norway, and 2 million for a startup is actually quite a lot. Can pay for 2 people full time for 1 year, even 3 people if you are a little cheap. In 2021, we are planning our market entry. So we already have our products almost in place, which are able to turn down the cost and the time of computational fluid dynamic simulations from weeks if you run through a consultant to a couple of hours. So today with the Norwegian Olympic Committee here in Oslo, we're actually deciding that they will probably be our very first contract using one of our products, and that will happen this year. In addition, we apply for some money or for some funding from Forskningsrådet, and there we got 3.2 million in funding through the proof of concept project, similar to the Innovation Norway. So it's more focused on how you should grow a company. So it's not only, it has to come from research run at the university using state money, but it's more on how you build a company, how you make it successful commercially. And the most interesting one is the last one that we got, which is 5.2 million through an IPN call, of which we involved the findings that were coming actually from a master thesis that started in 2020 and finished this year with Henrik and Kristoffer up at NTNU in collaboration with Sintef Digital, NTNU, and Norwegian OpenAI Lab. So you can see a very nice circle here between starting from the universities, involving students, getting funding, soft funding, and now involving also investors in order to make the company scale up. I think we are a very good example, I will say, on how we can involve positively students into the workflow of a startup. As I said, we do web-based simulation, something that before was only done by consultants, but we are now able to, with our tools, to run this type of simulations in a much simpler and easier way, lowering down cost and lowering down time. We work with high professional sports, as I said before. One of our main customers is the Ineos Grenadiers team, which is also linked to Mercedes Formula One and the America's Cup team. And for them, we do this kind of simulation. So this is actually Filippo Ganna. He is the world champion of time trial. Pretty much every item that you see on Filippo is being developed by us. Helmets, part of the bike, the wheels, his position, everything has been running through some of our tools. And the same goes for the Norwegian Olympiatoppen. So this is actually Kajsa Winterlie. We use animation technique in order to change position, optimize position of the athletes, and give them almost in real time, or at least after a training sessions, ideas of how they can improve the positions in order to improve their aerodynamics and win more races. We also have some, I'm a surfer myself, so I decided to have a little bit of a twist towards the surfing market. So we've been the very first company in the world being able to simulate a breaking wave and a surfboard running on a breaking wave. And also here we have a possibility now to implement artificial intelligence algorithm in order to give surfboard producers the possibility to develop better surfboards in a much shorter time and low effort and low cost. And last but not least, this is a snapshot of what Kristoffer showed, is the outcome of their master thesis. They were hired with us for 20%, and the 20% was the implementation of the research work that they were doing on their master thesis. So they had, together with all the academic way of working, they had also the part of being involved with us 100%, and develop something with us and together with us. And I think this is it has been a major outcome for us and for them, and it's been also the outcome that led us in order to get the kind of nice funding also from the first control for the project that is gonna start now after the summer. Yeah, I don't go through this, but I think you've already seen it in the presentation of Kristoffer. This is like a major step up for us. These simulations usually take about, even run by us on CFD, they take about 1 day. With a new, this is like an old version also, but with a new app that Kristoffer and Henrik developed, we're going down to seconds. We have a team. Sadly, Kristoffer and Henrik found new jobs, so our team is growing really fast. We are hiring actually 3 new people. So if you're interested, just give us a call or send us a message. We are looking for new experts in AI. We have a new master student joining us next year, but if any of the students in the audience is interested in working with us, yeah, you have my contact here. Just drop me a mail or a message. And I guess that's it from my side. I don't know if I went a little bit over time or if I'm good with time.
That's fine, Luca. Thank you. And we look forward to hearing more in the panel debate very soon. And now we seemingly switch topic completely from sports to accounting. But it's not that much of a switch. And now the next speaker on the board is Lene, CEO of Semine. She works with one of the most rapidly growing AI startups in Norway, from Kristiansand, Agder region. That's important to mention because that's where I am also. Lene, please.
Thank you, Morten. I will share my screen as well and give you a short introduction into Semine. Here we go. Okay, let's see. So if this one works, yes. The whole idea of Semine was born when Robert, our founder, who is from Kristiansand, was working in Kongsberg Group, a big company in Norway. And he was working there after selling his second company to them. And the oil price plunged back in 2014, as many of you might remember. And he saw how the oil engineers just went out of the company and other professionals as well. They had to leave because they had to cut the ones in the controlling functions in the finance people back there and just handling all the
Seems you have a bit of audio problem with Lene. So maybe we should increase the fiber funding to Kristiansand.
Stop sharing my screen. Do you hear me now?
We lost you a bit. I think you're back now, Lene, so please.
Okay, I won't share any screen then, because maybe that's kind of the poor connection, and then I'll talk instead to you guys. But I hope you understand that the idea was when the lack of automation that Robert, our founder, saw in the ERP systems, then the idea of Semine, our AI automation for AI automation platform was born. And in short, we've been a company since 2015. We seed our first round of funding in 2018, and we actually got Kistefos and Amesto, our big players, with us. And then the company has grown from a small startup to actually a big company of 60 people now. So we've grown quite rapidly the last years, and we are still on the growing path and still need more good people into the company. And in the AI space, we had a collaboration with the University of Agder and the CARE back in 2018. That was previous to me coming into the company. But the whole idea there was that we had a PhD student who were doing his thesis together with us. And that was a good collaboration and introduction to how we could develop our AI models. So in a short time and with bad connection, I will end it there, and we'll have more of a panel debate later. Thank you, Morten.
Thank you for also for keeping it brief, since we're running out of time. So great. Last speaker before we start the debate is Gustavo Mello from OsloMet, Associate Professor in Artificial Intelligence and Head of the Academic Group in Artificial Intelligence. And since I have a small position in OsloMet, he's also something like my boss, so we should be nice to Gustavo. So Gustavo, please go ahead.
Well, thank you so much for the introduction, Morten. And yeah, you don't have to be nice. I just want people to be sincere and open. So I would like to share a little bit about the history of the AI Lab and where we are right now regarding our plans and our involvement with the students and startups. OsloMet is a new university and started in 2018. And during that process, we noticed that there were many isolated endeavors or strategies for AI in different faculties. So a group of researchers in the computer science thought that maybe it would be a nice idea to have a unifying effort. And then the AI Lab was born with the idea of giving a unified face for the AI efforts in OsloMet, representing the intersection with different faculties from humanities to health and construction and education and so on and so forth. During this process, we are in the center of Oslo. So and as our background is a high schooler, we have a very tight relationship with the industry. And that meant that a lot of startups and companies started to contact us to develop projects together with us. But we noticed, or the first thing that we noticed is that there was a lot of will of doing something together regarding AI, but there was very little understanding about what are the building blocks necessary to build this collaboration. So for instance, the understanding on how AI can actually put in a business process to deliver value, how data can be leveraged, and what is the need to, what do you have to have in place to build this collaboration. So a lot of effort that we built in the beginning was to develop education strategies for companies. And actually, we finally ran the first batches. We have a course that is Introduction to Artificial Intelligence for Industries and Organizations that ran for 5 times now. And this process has been successful so far and in educating small business owners, and we are going to expand on that in the future. A second point was regarding bridging academia to the startup environment. So giving entrepreneurship skills to researchers so they can start their own ideas. And this has been a collaboration between us and Simula, especially Grundegarage and NORA.Startup. We are together now prototyping a course that we call the Innovation Academy, which is a series of activities oriented to researchers so they can know how to transfer their skills into something more applicable and to attend to necessities of society so they can develop a business on that. Finally, we've been in conversation with our colleagues at NTNU, and we are very we admire very much their initiative with BRAIN NTNU. And we had a conversation 1 year ago or more about how to foment these activities at Oslo as well. And that gives us a little bit, we've been doing a lot of things with the students, but during the Corona, everything became very, very hard. So it came the idea actually in conjunction with this inspiration from BRAIN is to support the students that are willing to take the flag forward. So essentially, we dedicated part of the academic staff to support as a let's say, as a consultants and as enablers for the students that were more engaged in and more entrepreneurial to build activities. And essentially, we allocated resources and gave them full freedom to develop whatever they want to develop from there. In the beginning, everything was much more oriented to education and filling gaps in education, as Jørgen has said, but it has gradually evolved to engage more and more the startup environment. And I believe that now we have we reached a point where we have a seed at Oslo Central, where we can start growing and involving other universities and other startups to come to us, not only through the events that they hold, but also through education and through collaborations with projects. So we have now planning to expand on these activities, especially in the beginning of the next semester. For instance, we are involving areas that are traditionally not very tightly related to AI. We are trying to engage, for instance, the construction industry and also the journalism fields and the information management society, but we are opening to much more from the next semester onwards. So in a nutshell, that's what we are going forward, what we're looking for, and looking forward to the discussion.
Great, and thank you, Gustavo. I think we then just let all the participants enter the discussion back again. So please turn your cameras on. Great. And I'd like to start out with the first question. I think that which made it very easy for me to ask because Kristoffer already asked it. And this is, how is it to work with a startup as a student? Would you like to answer your own question, Kristoffer?
Yeah, it was, yeah. No, working with the startup has been great. I think Luca will also say the same. Things are moving fast. It's fun to work, and we get to test out new ideas. I think more startups should try to get in contact with universities about collaborating on master thesis projects. I think they can get a lot of good work from that. What do you think, Luca?
I fully agree. I will also say that probably one of the advantages from our side that I've been associate professor myself, I've been involved in academia myself, so I think we know what to expect from students, and we kind of knew a little bit how to, if not guide, at least how to drive a little bit the process, which might not be straightforward, but from my side, there's been extremely good collaboration, I will say.
And if you can ponder on this a bit more, so how can we then better help and inspire academia education master projects to involve in startups? If you start with Lene, for example, so how can we make sure that academia actually gets into such as Semine?
Yeah, I think it starts with us as startups that we bjuder på. We make sure that we need students into our company, and it's a good way of getting students to get a touch and feel of the working environment as well. Because when one day you probably are going out there and maybe do a proper job in a way and earn some money, and then you can actually come with your knowledge into a startup and have the collaboration and see how you can actually commercialize working with AI, for instance. So yeah, I think it's a really important collaboration, and we really would like to have more of that in our company at least.
And one that has gotten more of that would be then you, Gustavo. You have a lot of collaboration outside. So what do you say?
So what I would say is I want to touch a little bit on what Luca has said, because Luca had the experience as an associate professor, and I think it's really positive to expose the students to the work environment as soon as possible. It has immense value, but it's also important to understand that the main goal is to produce a professional in the end, is to educate someone. And for that, it's really important that startups collaborate with us in this process and giving the time to supervise the student properly, to give them proper educational support, and understand that they are a professional, yes, but they are also a student, and they have to reach some academic goals to get there. So I think that once this is understood, the collaboration is very smooth. And I think in the case of the Luca, that was smooth mainly because of his previous experience, but this is a challenge that has to be overcome and cannot be neglected.
So is it your experience that has made this a smooth transition, Luca, or is it any other?
No, I think it has been a group of very positive factors. So the first two, having two amazing students, that helps. So also it's not always the case. Sometimes there are some students that are less involved.
I've never heard about that. Okay.
But they were really amazing from many perspectives. And then also the supervision at the university was great. So it's been a mix of very many positive factors from our side. So we are a fortunate example, I will say, but I'm pretty sure it can be reproduced.
And key to that, I would say, is kind of the maker spaces or the student collaboration, all of these things that kind of you are representing, Jørgen. And is there any collaboration between the AI student organization, or are you working completely alone, Jørgen?
Yeah, like Gustavo mentioned, like kind of the start was in part inspired by BRAIN. So, and we knew that it's kind of a learning process to establish these kind of things. So we reached out and have continued to have a dialogue to kind of share our experiences. And we tried to reach out to other universities as well. And we hope that maybe we can inspire something similar and for it to kind of spread to other universities. But yeah, definitely collaborating is very good for both groups.
Collaboration meaning with companies, startups, but with academia, but also across student organizations. Is that something you're also pondering of, Kristoffer?
Yeah, I remember the first call I got from Jørgen, where we talked about how it is to run a student organization focusing on AI. And I think we have a lot to learn from each other. And when new students or organization pop up at new universities, I think we should all talk together and learn from each other and collaborate on projects. Like the one we had, the hackathon we had earlier this year was a collaboration project between BRAIN and Cogito, for example, which is another student organization at NTNU. So we can definitely find stuff to work on together.
So what about organizing hackathons to involve students in the exciting world of accounting, Lene? Is that something you're thinking of?
Oh, wow. That's definitely something we could look into. Definitely. I mean, we use hackathons a lot internally in terms of make progress in different areas. So yeah, for sure. Definitely.
And what we see, at least internationally, is a lot of these student competitions. So you're getting a task on Friday and you have to deliver on Sunday, and then Sunday there's this leaderboard who can do the best accounting or the best or something like that.
Yeah, I love it. That's a really good suggestion. So we should definitely do something.
And you can also do that in the world of sports, Gustavo. You think these student competitions?
Oh, definitely. We are all the time looking for opportunities. Like, as I said, we did a lot of things independently. We did with some hackathons with BRAIN NTNU, with Diesen, Toletaten. So we are looking for collaborators. So you just have to knock the door and we can arrange things. And I think Jørgen has some plans for collaborations with the economy department. So maybe that's an opportunity right there.
So what is your plans of economic competition, Jørgen?
You're referring to the stock market prediction. Yeah, so we've found out that a lot of students are interested in the stock market, essentially. So our idea is to kind of merge it with AI. So it's both a learning process, and we'll see what comes out of it.
I think in every AI researcher's life, there comes a time where it says, I should do stock market prediction, but very few of us are very rich at the end. It's something there. But so Luca, you've been one of those few examples where you've successfully taken academic work and some of transitions into the complex world of real life outside. So what would be your tips if I were to do the same? Let's say I have some idea and I want to do like Luca.
Well, I think like one of our co-founders is Siri Calvilek has been one of the great mentors for me in terms of positivity. Like creating positivity around the team is definitely step number one in whatever I do in life. So having a positive attitude, everything has to start from there. And beside that, it's partnerships. So look for the right people and place the right people at the right places and have big shoulders supporting you. If you don't find those big shoulders, it's going to be very complicated to move in your path, basically. So yeah, positivity and then good people and big shoulders to rely on.
And in your presentation, you mentioned funding from, I think it was Research Council. How big a role did that research grant play?
We're projects, so we will have survived anyway, but in the scaling process, that's going to play an amazing role because that's where you can invest basically direct capital into research or into development without having the need to involve investors. I'm very positive about investors. I am sometimes skeptical about bringing investors at the wrong time because then they will make their own agenda and not your agenda. And I like to keep my agenda, at least for now.
What do you think, Gustavo? So is for us hardcore academians So is there a life outside of academia to play in
Definitely.
that type of game?
Absolutely. Like, actually, there is a saying in the MIT is that if a professor that is just a professor and not an entrepreneur, it means that he's not such a good thing.
Oh, what?
Yeah, so like in MIT, actually, that's the motto for quality. So I think that this is something that we are aiming for, that like in 5-10 years, a substantial fraction of our faculty can also be entrepreneurs themselves, if not as a main head of there, but like as a participant or a CTO in some company. But I want to just jump on something that Luca has said, that it's not really nice. It's positive about investors, but not at any time, because you want to keep your own agenda and own idea. And this is something that it's also important to have between academia and startups, because startups wants to have the edge, the competition edge, the competitive edge in the market, but us as academics wants to publish and spread the knowledge all over the place, right? So bring new technologies and make people, make the future to happen. So it should be, I think a lot of the collaborations will be very facilitated if there is a very clear understanding about what each one is trying to deliver, what is the value for each one of the parts. And there is a clear agreement and about the publication rights, how it's retained, and the royalties or the IP rights, which is a conversation that's not always easy.
Absolutely. And what do you think about that, Lene? So you're a private company. If you engage more students, you have a lot of secrets, I would say, maybe some IPR. Is that
yeah, but I think you're totally right, Gustavo. It's that balance there, that you really need to do the research and give some information, but you can't reveal it all, because our AI and our combination of our algorithm is our secret sauce, right? So that's our commercial business, and that's also the part that maybe academia, or they don't get. I don't know what's the right word here, but it's really important that we as a company to grow and need to make revenue, right? So we can't reveal everything, but we will reveal what we can, and then of course then we can use what new interesting stuff that comes up and take it into kind of a commercial path in a way. So there's possibilities there, but also be aware of the red flags in a way.
Very wise words. There's a statement in the chat which I would like to hear Luca's opinion on. And the statement is that if you hire the wrong person, it's expensive. I guess nobody would disagree about that. And for a small startup, an establishing company, you get kind of a hiring process as through a master thesis. Is that the best way to get to know a candidate, Luca?
I think for us it's been a very good way to get to know our candidates. Also want to give a little bit of a overview of what we've done in terms of publication and how we took it from our side.
Yeah.
So yes, I think getting to know a candidate on the master thesis or trainee like we did is amazing. We already knew that Kristoffer and Henrik had other jobs waiting for them, so we were aware of it. But of course, we tried to hire them anyway, because we saw the good work that they've done. When it comes to publication, the way we took it was a bit of halfway, and there is like one vision, which is if someone is trying to copy something that we are publishing, they're already behind us. And then when they will copy it, we will be already in front. So I've been working in the world of professional sports for 15 years, and you always have to be in the far front. People are going to copy you. You're going to expose, and people are going to copy you. So I'm not that worried about publication, but the road that we took was that Henrik and Kristoffer are going to write a journal paper actually out of their master thesis, but we will keep the master thesis locked for 3 years. And they are able to also present in workshop like this one. So it's a good compromise where we show the high technological value that we are doing within, or the background value. And at the same time, we keep all the bits and pieces that are maybe crucial and the piece of code that we want to keep inside. Maybe that can be a good solution for us. I guess it's working well.
So it's a half a year job interview in a way.
Yes.
But you participated in a job interview, Kristoffer, but then decided to go in another company. But still, it was a good experience according to your presentation.
Yeah, I already had a job offer before I started in Nabla Flow. But yeah, it was a pleasure working with Nabla Flow, and it still is. I'm still have a couple of days left, just working on the application. Yeah.
And if you have tips to any of the companies that are out there and they want to motivate master's thesis students like yourself, what would be the correct way for any of these companies to engage?
I mean, collaborate with NORA and the Norwegian Open AI Lab. Add or submit proposals for master thesis and join events that we at BRAIN host, that Oggiano host, and that AI-Makerspace are creating. Join there, and you can talk directly with students who are specifically interested in AI.
So. Do you concur, Jørgen? Is that also music in your ears?
Yeah, I think so. I was gonna add, that collaboration between startups and students. I think is a good way of getting to know the students. I know many people aren't like super comfortable with maybe the standard A4 hiring process with the interviews and stuff. So it's a good way of like seeing how the student actually works and functions. And
there's a lot, yes, but there's supervising as thesis. It takes a lot of time, right? So also for a startup, you have to kind of push. So it's not free, but it's. So you have to really put effort in. So I think I end with the question from all of you. Time flies very fast. If you consider NAIL and NORA.Startup in the future, a couple of years ahead, what would be the ideal situation for you? How can NORA and NAIL really support your work in the future? Let's start with Luca.
I think the way you're doing it is great. So. And I think also it's the right amount between too little and too much. So keep doing what you guys are doing. I'm very pleased to be part of NORA, at least NORA for startups. So you're doing a good job.
Good. Luca, now Gustavo. So what will be your ideal NORA or NAIL in the future for you as an academic?
So I think that the most important thing right now, especially during the pandemic, is creating forums where people can actually meet and facilitate the spread of the word so people can know each other, and also clarify intentions. So both sides know the motivations and know the process and the procedures. So everybody's in the same page, and we can support these students to help the startups to deliver value to society, to create new technologies and make economy grow. So I think creating forums and facilitating the communication, these are the key things.
What do you think, Lene? So how could you get even more out of the student collaborations than you have already now through NORA or NAIL?
Yeah, I have to build on what Luca and Gustavo just said, and then just add the communication out there. Or for us, it's about getting the right students in, but also for other startups and other companies to understand the great work that you're doing. Just communicate. I think that's the essence here, to get more involved from more than just us who has already done it. So yeah, great
communicate
work.
×3. Kristoffer, as a student, as a former student, maybe.
No, I know exactly what to answer on this question. Help us create a network of student organization working with AI. So you guys connecting me or BRAIN with the AI-Makerspace, super. And continue doing that and facilitate for us to talk together and invite us to speak at events like this. Just the best way you can help us.
Jørgen, talking at an event like this, is there anything more NORA and NAIL can help with?
No, just send interested companies our way, and we can start a collaboration.
Good. So this was the last webinar of this season. As webinars do, we take a summer break, and we'll be back in August. This has been a collaboration between NORA and NAIL, if you're interested in any of these, go to the websites, and we then facilitate even more collaboration in the world of AI. Please have a nice summer.
Thank you.